Hello, everybody, and welcome in. My name is Ethan Cronister. Some of y'all might know me as Cron from the Cron and Yodi Show. This is my podcast that I just started. This one is going to be called Fuel Injected. We're going to be talking about all things to do with motorsports, and we'll eventually venture off into other topics as well. All right, let's get right into it. So, there's a few things we're going to talk about this episode. Mainly the NASCAR season. That's pretty much the biggest motorsport event that's going on right now. I've got a list of the power rankings that just came out, and we're going to go over that. I'll talk about some of the people who have won the races and the people who are still looking for their first win. But we do have a couple unfortunate things that we need to talk about, so we're going to go ahead and get those out of the way first. First thing we're going to talk about is something that's a little more personal to me because I've seen it in person and it still kind of hits home. And that would be the jet truck Shockwave. Battle Creek, Michigan, not too long ago. He was doing his show like he always does. And we'll just say there was an accident and it resulted in the truck crashing and the driver losing his life. So we're going to take a minute and talk about that and what I've figured out from the owner of the team, not personally, but from what he said about the crash. And we'll go over that. And former NASCAR Cup Series, Truck Series driver Bobby East was stabbed fatally at a gas station. So we're going to talk about that and what's become of that situation as well. Then pretty exciting at the end. I've got a nice little interview that we're going to clip in here from a driver of a monster truck by the name of Jurassic Attack. The driver is Dalton Widner. He drives on the Toughest Trucks Tour, and he, in his rookie season, won the championship. He's a great guy, real smart, knowledgeable. You guys are going to love that interview. So let's get right into it. We'll start with the Bobby East situation. That was unfortunate and kind of shocking news to hear. So as far as I've read in the story, he was pumping gas at a gas station. I don't know if there was an altercation between him and this other guy or not. I'm not going to say the other guy's name out of respect for him and his family. The other guy came over and stabbed him and took off, and apparently they had footage of it or whatever, however they found it, but they knew who it was. So by the time the police got to, or emergency services, I should say, by the time they got to Bobby East, he was already pretty much gone. They got him to the hospital, but he died as soon as he got there. So they knew the suspect. They identified him. They got a warrant, and they went to go serve the warrant, and right away they knew we need SWAT. So they went and got SWAT. They went and got canines. They came back, tried to serve the warrant, and the suspect was belligerent. He was resisting, and he ended up shooting a police dog, which, if you don't know, police dogs are considered officers by everyone, including the law. If you shoot if you shoot a police dog, it's the same thing as shooting an officer. The suspect was subsequently shot and killed by the police. So I don't know. I mean, you can't really pursue anything farther than that. The suspect is dead. Bobby East is dead. It's an unfortunate situation on all accounts. So everybody, I don't know if there's anything like a GoFundMe account for Bobby East or anything, but it's very unfortunate what happened to him. And if you care to, go take a moment of your time and see if there's anything you can do to assist the families in that situation. Well, we'll move right on to the Shockwave crash and talk about, once again, I'll reiterate the situation of there was an accident while he was doing his show. And if you don't know what the Shockwave truck is, let me explain it. It's a jet-powered semi. The jet engine on the back of the semi makes 36,000 horsepower and I believe 21,000 pounds of thrust. So in reality, that moves the semi, which semis are very heavy. It moves it around 300 something miles an hour, and any mechanical failure at that rate of speed is absolutely catastrophic. So what I've read from the owner, who was the owner is Nate Durrell, I believe that's his name. Let me make sure, or it's Neil Darnell. The driver of the truck was his son, Chris Darnell, who was 40 years old at the time of his death. He has a wife and 2 kids, and he does have a GoFundMe set up. So if you care to and you feel inclined to, you can go donate to his family at this time of their need and grief. But his father, who owns the truck, said after he got the truck back and inspected it, it appears as though the truck was driving. In the video, you can see it driving. So there's pyrotechnics involved with his stunt. At the air shows, he drives through fire and all that stuff. A lot of people thought that that was the reason why he crashed, but it's not. So the truck owner said that as he was driving, you can see in the video there's flames before he gets to the fireball. He had a fuel tank rupture caused by one of the rear tires going down, blowing out, and it blew up. And when it blew up, it shredded the fuel tank, which got onto the rims, which were sparking, which caused a fire. And by the time that he had no time to react. It's just that simple. I mean, the tire blew out doing 300 miles an hour. The truck was already going to the slide to the direction the tire was out. By the time he could do anything inside the cab, the truck was already rolling, resulting in a terrible crash. I think it looks like it rolled at least a dozen times, and it was just, I mean, they got there. It wasn't for lack of effort on emergency services part. They got there within a minute. Like, there's always emergency services at those shows, the air shows, because, I mean, if a plane crashes, you got to be there. But they pronounced him dead on the scene. There was no way for them to get him out alive. He was just gone by the time they got to him. I mean, you're wrecking at 300 miles an hour. There's not much safety equipment can do for you at that point. It's just a terrible, unfortunate mechanical failure. And I mean, my thoughts and prayers go out to his family, his kids, his wife, his father. Can you imagine what his father's thinking about? He owns the truck that his son just died in. So that's incredibly unfortunate. But like I said, I'm not sure about Bobby East, but I know that the Chris Darnell has a family GoFundMe page set up to where you can donate to him if you ever feel inclined to do so. I believe at this point it's already raised over $81,000 for his family, which is incredible. And I mean, it obviously doesn't replace what they've lost in their husband, their son, their father, but it at least gives them some kind of cushion to where they'd have one less thing to worry about in this time of need. So as I said before, if you feel inclined to, go check that out. Now we're going to move on to something a little bit lighter, and that would be the NASCAR power rankings that just came out. So as far as this season goes for NASCAR, there have been 14 race winners. 14 this year, which is insane. 14 different people. There can be 16 people in the playoffs, and there's 14 people that have won already. Insane. So we're going to start from the bottom and make our way back up. Number 20 in the power rankings is Austin Dillon. He houses no wins this year. A lot of people just know him for driving the number 3 car. The dude does have talent. Takes him a while to show it. I'm not a huge fan of Austin Dillon, but he's a driver. He makes more money than I do, so what do I know? Number 19 for Richard Petty Motorsports, it's going to be Eric Jones. he drives that 43 car. I like Eric. He came from my team, which was Joe Gibbs. I mean, obviously, it's not my team that I own, but it's my team that I fan over. So I like Eric. He also houses no wins this year. Number 18 for Stewart-Haas Racing is Chase Briscoe, who drives the 14 car. He does have a win. It's in Phoenix this year. I believe he's solidified himself towards the playoffs already. Number 17 for Richard Childress is Tyler Reddick in the number 8. He has also won a race at Road America, and I believe he has also likewise got himself pretty well seated into the playoffs. Number 16 in his final season for Stewart-Haas Racing in the number 10 car, Eric Almirola. He has no wins this year. He doesn't have many in his career, but he's kind of one of those guys it's just people like to be around. He's a really nice guy. I just wish he drove for a different team. Number 15, people are forever going to remember him as the guy who not only took over Dale Earnhardt's car when he left, Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s, but then he took over Jimmy Johnson's car. So now you got Alex Bowman in the 48 Ally car for Hendrick Motorsports. He has a win this year at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Poor guy has to live with the fact that he has taken over 2 legendary racers' cars and has not put up quite the performance that those guys did. So fans are always going to, house a little resentment for that because he's not them. Number 14, we got Kurt Busch in the 45 Jordan car. He has a win this year at Kansas. His teammate, Bubba Wallace, is nowhere to be found on this list. Probably right outside the top 20. He also has no wins. But if any of you didn't know, Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin combined to form a team, 23XI Racing. They have the 23 car driven by Bubba Wallace and the 45 driven by Kurt Busch, which is both of Michael Jordan's numbers when he played in the NBA. At number 13, you have Brad Keselowski's replacement, Austin Cindric. And he also has a win this year. He won the very first race of the year at Daytona. Has not won since. Like I said, he's Keselowski's replacement. So there's probably a bunch of Kes fans that don't like him. Because like I said with Bowman, he took over the car of a quote-unquote off legendary racer in Brad Keselowski. Now, as far as the next guy goes, he's lucky because if he was the first driver to take over after Jeff Gordon, I wouldn't like him either, but I don't mind him. And that's William Byron at number 12 with the 24 car for Hendrick Motorsports. He has 2 wins this year at Atlanta and Martinsville, which Atlanta's a speedway, Martinsville's a short track. He drives, like I said, the 24 car. He's pretty good. There's no way around it. All the Hendricks cars have been good this year, but some of them are starting to fall off just a little bit, much to my pleasure, much to a bunch of people's displeasure. Number 11, kind of a dark horse to be this high up on the power rankings, is Daniel Suarez, first Mexican-born driver to win a race. He won this year at Sonoma, which is a road course. He's really good at driving road courses. He always has been. Just unfortunate that we couldn't keep him around at Joe Gibbs because I really liked him when he was here. And like I said, very unfortunate. He's bounced around a few teams, but he's finally got that win off of his back. He won the All-Star race this year too, but that doesn't count as a win. But it counted, I think, as $1 million in his pocket. So I believe he's chilling on that. But like I said, he should have a long-term spot at Trackhouse Racing. And that Trackhouse team is out of their minds this year. Number 10, we got Joey Logano, or as I like to call him, Joey Slogano. He has 2 wins this year, one at Darlington and one at Worldwide Technologies. He is always going to be good. He's good. I mean, there's no way around it. He's got a real good car with that 22 car in Penske. It's just unfortunate that I have to deal with him because him and my driver have lots of beef all the time. At number 9, we have one of my favorites, Denny Hamlin, number 11 car for Joe Gibbs. He has 2 wins this year at Richmond and Charlotte, which was good for him to win at Charlotte because Michael Jordan's got a lot of ties to that place. And now, although he doesn't drive for his own team, he drives for Joe Gibbs, but it probably still felt good for him to win that race and get to share that with Michael Jordan in any way possible. At number 8, we got another Joe Gibbs car, the Christopher Bell, and the number 20. He won last week in New Hampshire in a pretty good race. He showed out pretty well, and he's got a bright future ahead of him. And number 7, we got Kyle Busch, who has also won a race. This is my favorite driver, Kyle Busch is. He won the Bristol dirt track race, which people will try to take away from him, that it's not a real race because it's on dirt. Doesn't matter if you think it's a real race or not. He has a win in the column. He's won a race every year that he's been in the Cup Series. So I don't really want to hear it. I'm tired of hearing it. It's disrespectful. It's bad off. But number 6, I don't know how he's this high. It's Kevin Harvick. He has no wins, but he does have quite a few top 10s, top 15s, kind of things like that. Kevin Harvick, in my opinion, has been going downhill the last couple years, but obviously not the NASCAR, as he's number 6 in their power rankings. So we'll move on to number 5, Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson has won a race this year. He won an Auto Club, and he dominated that race. He's dominated quite a few races. He just has had a little trouble finishing them, uncomparative to his last couple of years where he has dominated races from start to finish. At number 4, we have Ryan Blaney, who's another one of the drivers that I like, the number 12 Penske car. He has won a race as well this year, and it was at Texas. Number 3, we have Martin Truex Jr., who also houses no win, but he is dominant. He's almost always in the top 5. And short tracks, restrictor plates, you name it, this guy is incredible. Number 2, the most surprising of the year by far, is Ross Chastain. Ross Chastain has bounced around cars his entire career. He's won 2 races this year at the Circuit of Americas and Talladega. I mean, this dude is racing out of his mind this year. He's got top 5s, he's got top 10s. This guy is going nuts. And number 1, much to my displeasure, is Chase Elliott. He has won 3 races this year, which leads NASCAR. And he's won in Atlanta, he won in Nashville, and he won at Dover, which is my home track. So that's your top 20 power rankings for NASCAR. We'll talk a little bit about Pocono Raceway, which is the race coming up. There's not much I can talk about for it because they haven't done qualifying. They haven't done practice. I haven't been able to see who looks good, who looks fast, who looks slow, those kind of things. Pretty much just one of those things we'll just have to see as the week goes on. They will start practicing. I don't even think they've started yet. And the Cup cars can't practice until the trucks practice, and then the Xfinities can't practice until the trucks practice. So it has to go trucks, then Xfinity, then the Cup Series. And we'll get into the Xfinity and the trucks in the next episode. I'm trying to make this like maybe a weekly, maybe bi-weekly kind of thing. Like I said, this is my podcast that I have separate from the Cron and Yodi show. I know Yodi, or Britain, has his own that he's going to be doing soon, I believe, a Yankees one. And also he has the Nashville Predators one, the Sabretooth Savant. And then we still have our show that we're doing together, which is the Cron and Yodi show, which is our main show. And eventually we'll start getting more into the No Place Like Omaha boys. Those guys that we help out there. But like I said, this is mine. This one's mine because I have free reign on this one. Um, just talking about motorsports, and I've got a few guys I'm excited about potentially interviewing in the future. But we're going to talk about something right now that I want everyone to think about, and that is remember when you were a kid how sick it was to see a monster truck 12,000 pounds just crushing all up on a car. Well, that's still cool to me. I still would drop everything to go do that for a living if I could. It's not an option at this current moment, but I have a intense fandom when it comes to to NASCAR, to motorsports, but I love, love, love monster trucks. I've got the Gravedigger cap on. It's hard to beat. The adrenaline you get when you're watching those things do the things that they do, especially now with the way that the sport has developed and improved and all that, I'm excited about it. So right now, I've got in the works a few guys that I could potentially interview in that regards, but I've already interviewed one. Dalton Widner drives for Team Throttle Monster. They have a Monster Jam tour. They have a Monster in the independent tour. They have the Toughest Trucks tour. And the Toughest Trucks tour, it's not anything like what people might think like a knockoff. It's its own version of monster trucks, but it's like a more testing on your truck kind of deal. Like I've seen a lot of his highlights and his videos and whatnot. That dude beats the crap out of his truck every week. So I was keeping tabs on him pretty much all year, and I saw that he won the championship, and I took my opportunity to message him, not expecting much. And I was like, "Hey man, I'm about to start up my own motorsports podcast. I'd like for you to be the first athlete that I interview." And because I really enjoy watching him drive. He's got a great driving style. And much to my surprise, he said yes. We scheduled it up while I was in Tennessee. We did the interview. So that'll be at the end of this video that he does that, or we do that interview. Absolutely fantastic interview. That guy really knows his stuff. And it's going to be a fun one for you guys to watch. Maybe learn a little bit more about him, about what it's like being a monster truck driver, what it takes to get up there. I mean, if you have a kid, or you're watching this and you have a kid that wants to, that's his dream job is to become a monster truck driver, have him listen to this guy. He grinded it out from the pit crews all the way up to independent team driving. And this guy's getting his chance now in the big show, the Monster Jam circuit. This guy's getting his shot. So it's one of those things. If you have a kid that wants to do that for a living, listen to his story. It's a 30-minute interview, just about. Listen to how he had to handle adversity to get to where he was. I mean, you guys are going to enjoy it. I enjoyed doing it. Hopefully, I have some of his teammates on soon, and hopefully, they're just as knowledgeable and as pleasant to deal with as he was. So, I'm going to cut this off now, let that interview play, and I'll see you guys when it's over. All right, welcome in everybody. I am in here with Dalton Widner, a driver of Jurassic Attack for Team Throttle Monster Motorsports. Dalton, how you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Now I saw that you. I just saw on your Instagram you guys were. I just think it was in Missouri. I think that's where you were, and you said you got to test out the old boss's truck.
That's right. We were just in Springfield, Missouri for Map Motorsports. It was a good show. It was the first time I've been on asphalt, and it was a lot of fun. Rolling some tire smoke off 66-inch tires is pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I've seen a few of those. When I used to go to the Monster Jam shows in Tulsa, they were all on the cement floor, so they could get some wicked donuts going off of that.
Oh yeah, she'll spin. She'll spin real good on pavement.
Yes, that is correct. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think how many drivers does Team Throttle Monster have? I know they've got you, they've got, I believe, Paul Jensen and David Olfert, and isn't that Mike Christensen part of that team as well?
Yeah, so Paul Jensen is the owner of the team. He owns all six, or he owns five of the six trucks. The sixth truck is Zach Jensen, that's his cousin. Zach owns Kamikaze, so normally it's my Jurassic Attack and Kamikaze in one trailer, and then so it's me and Zach Jensen, and then the B team is David Olfert and Travis Mowry with now Velociraptor and Rockwell Red, and then it's Mike Christensen and Paul Jensen with Vendetta and Jurassic Attack.
Yeah, so I believe Paul is out of Utah, is that correct?
Yes, yeah, the team is based out of Ogden, Utah.
Okay. Yeah. So I've watched pretty much all of them, except I don't think I've ever seen Zach. I've watched all of them. I know Paul was pretty famous or infamous, I guess you could say, this year for wrecking his truck into the containers, trying to do a nose wheelie. I don't remember where that was at. I think that might have been in Arizona, but I remember that. I was watching that. Um, so, what is the difference? Is there any difference between like the Monster Jam tour and the tour that you run on? Besides, I know that they use. I've seen the videos. They use a lot of crush cars in your tour.
Yeah, so the difference is that I mean, Monster Jam is what everybody sees on TV all the time, and that's what everybody knows. It's where Gravedigger and Maximum Destruction and all those guys run. And you know, the tour that I ran on this year and I won the championship on was the toughest monster truck tour. So they call it the toughest monster truck tour for a reason. We've build they build big tracks out there. They build hard stuff to race on. Every competitor out there is out to win. Nobody's held back. Nobody is what nobody is held back in anything that they can do. You can do whatever you want at any time. There's it's not that there is no rules, but there is free reign for drivers to go out there and show what they can really do. They build the biggest tracks that you'll ever see in an arena. I mean, I'm hitting like, you know, 10, 12, 14-foot tall FMX hills every weekend inside of an arena, and the wheelie jumps are stout. Racing's always competitive. It's always a good time, and it's toughest monster truck tour for a reason because those tracks are hard on parts, and it's a game of survival sometimes. But Monster Jam is always fun to run for. I ran 3 shows for them this year in first quarter, and I've got a bunch of them coming up here shortly. I've actually got one in 3 weeks in Salinas, California. But the difference is just, it's just a different promotion, really. I mean, it's just different way of building tracks, different way of doing things, and both of them are very entertaining to watch. And I enjoyed my time in both of them, but the majority of my shows were the toughest, and that's where I won my first championship.
Yeah, congratulations on that, by the way.
Appreciate it, man. It was pretty fulfilling. Doing monster truck has been my dream since I was a kid, and to come out and win a championship in my you know during my first year of driving is pretty awesome.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, because I saw, I believe, you like you said, you ran a few of those, like the Monster Jam circuit shows. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you beat Weston Anderson in the finals in one of those racings, didn't you?
I did. That was my second ever Monster Jam show that I did. So came into Worcester, Massachusetts. That was my first weekend with Monster Jam. First show, went out and was kind of feeling things out, trying to figure out what I can and can't do here. The tracks are completely different. So went out the first show, and I actually went to the finals in the first show and raced Weston in the finals, lost to him. And then the second show came around, ended up in the finals again with Weston and got him in that one. And I was pretty proud of it because I beat some of the top names in the business to even get to the finals, and then I got to race Gravedigger in the finals and beat him in my second Monster Jam show ever. So it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that was. I believe I watched a video playback of that, and I was like, "Holy cow, that guy just beat him! That's his first show." I was like, "That's pretty impressive."
Yeah, it was a good time. I didn't have any I didn't have any freebies in that one. I worked for that one and got it. That's why I'm pretty proud of that one.
Yeah. So if you don't mind me asking, how exactly did you get started in the monster trucks, Monster Jam?
So the way I got started was I've always wanted to do it since I was a kid, and I uh, I decided when I was like 4 years old that one day I was going to be a monster truck driver, and for some reason it stuck with me, and that's what I've loved since I was a kid. I had a determination to do it, and I had a friend that was in with a different team when I was younger, and he basically, texted the guys that were there. They were in my hometown and said, "Hey, this kid wants to come hang out and crew for you guys and learn and do whatever he needs you need him to do." So I was 14 years old. I went to my hometown show for Monster Jam, Knoxville, Tennessee, in the Thompson Bowling Arena, and it was Vodder's Motorsports, their four trucks. That was the first team that I ever worked for, ever helped with a weekend, and I was just a kid and I didn't know anything, but I was trying to be like a big sponge and just soak up every bit of information that I possibly could and do everything that I could to try and figure out what I could and couldn't do, and learn and work my way up the ladder. Start there and just go higher, and that's kind of how it ended up. I volunteered for teams for years and years and years. I mean, I was working for nothing, working for pizza, working for t-shirts, doing what I could because it was just a passion that I had, and I kept from the time that I was 14 to the time that I was 19, I was working, just any show that I possibly could go to. I'd go help out anybody that would let me, and finally landed a full-time job when I was 19 years old after I got out of college, and decided that that's what I wanted to do, and I've kind of just been in it ever since.
Yeah, no, you got a pretty good team right now. They've got some. They've got it. I don't really think there's a bad driver in monster trucks at this point. I mean, back in the day, there used to be some guys where you're like, how did these guys land a seat? But nowadays, it's so competitive in every single aspect and like every single tour that you've got yourself a pretty good team with your guys around you.
Yeah, yeah, I'm really happy with the team that I'm on. I mean, I genuinely believe, without this isn't just me being biased or anything, but I believe that the team that I'm on right now, Team Throttle Monster, is, one of, if not the best independent team out there right now. And we're making some big moves, and I think everybody on this team is really just an awesome, awesome, awesome team member, no matter what their job is. Crew guys, drivers, whatever. I think everybody on this team is top of the line, top notch people, and it's really awesome to be on this team. I've worked for a few independent teams, and I'm happier than I've ever been here. And it's just I feel like my driving has really taken another step since I've been here. They gave me pretty much free reign this year at toughest. They said just go out and win it, and you know I didn't think I could. I didn't honestly didn't think I could do it when I started the year, and I'm sure nobody else thought I could do it. They thought I was just going to be another one of those guys out there. And once I felt like I was finally set free because I've always thought that I could do this or I could do that in a truck, but I've never really been allowed to. And this year was the first time where you know the guy I was working for, or the team that I'm working for, obviously now, and you know just a team in general that I've been working for. It's the first time I've ever been told just you know go try and win it. Green light, go do it. And I kept the truck together and drove the way I wanted to, and it kind of just fell into place.
Yeah, I noticed that in a lot of the videos. So this one's kind of like a two-part question I have. The first question is there a difference in the way that the trucks are built, say for like the guys that are on the actual Monster Jam tour as compared to the toughest tours? Or like since the tracks are so much more demanding for the toughest trucks, are your trucks built any differently as like there are extra modifications to it to keep them from breaking?
No, not really. I mean, there's pretty much an industry standard as far as it goes for what people use on monster trucks. There's obviously, some exceptions. Some people use different planetary, some people use different differentials. It just depends on what team you're on. But as far as it goes, 90% of monster trucks out there use the same combination with Clark planetaries and F106 center chunks, and Chevrolet motors, 540 big blocks, bigger, smaller, whatever. But the basis is 540 big block power glide transmission, you know 26-inch travel shocks in the front, 30s in the rear. It's pretty much standard. As far as it goes for Monster Jam trucks, as far as company trucks go, they're pretty much all put together the exact same, and that's for the uh, for the intention of making everything interchangeable for their trucks. And for our trucks, it's similar in that way, but we've got different chassis on our team. But like as far as if you took a truck from toughest and put them in Monster Jam and put a Monster Jam truck into toughest, both of them could do both. It's just that sometimes people build trucks, independents still build trucks to do different things or be good at different things. But as far as it goes for like how strong it is or anything like that, they're pretty much all the same as far as parts usage and whatnot. You know.
Yeah. And I think the only thing I've ever seen different with like the powertrain setup on a truck was I believe it was the Team Scream guys that like to use the Turbo 400s with the 3 speeds instead of two, which has always been weird to me, but they make it work somehow.
Yeah, I think it's just a different preference. I mean, sometimes it's nice to have that third gear. Not gonna lie, there's some instances where you can watch on the internet, trucks going out there and running out of gear. If you had that third gear, you probably wouldn't have run out of gear. But it's just a different preference. As far as transmissions go. I mean, like back in the day, that's what everybody used, the Turbo 400.
Yeah.
It's just that power glides are a little bit more advanced now, as far as we've got a lot more built for us as opposed to back in the day.
Yeah.
You know.
So, what have been some of the biggest things you've noticed, like since I'm not sure how old you are at this current moment, but I'm 20, 22, almost 23. So, I know that since I was a kid, trucks have changed tremendously. Like the stuff that they do nowadays, those trucks back then would just break in half. They could not handle it. So, what are some of the biggest things that you've noticed that have changed? And like, I don't know about y'all, but I'm pretty excited for what it can be and what it's becoming.
Yeah, it's everything's. I'm actually the same age as you, by the way. I'm 22. I'll be 23 in November. But yeah, it's not that it's not that what parts we use have changed at all, because we still use Clarks, we still use Petabones, whatever planetary you use. We still use nitrogen shocks. We still use electric over hydraulic pumps for rear steer. We still use similar pumps for the front steering, stuff like that. But it's been development in those parts that have made it to where we can do things like this. Like, shock technology has come a long way since, the early 2000s. Like we've changed diameters of, let's just for instance, like one of the trucks that I used to drive before had the smaller shocks on it as far as the diameter of the the body and the accumulator. And now this team that I run on, we use all the big accumulator, big accumulator stuff. So it's a lot more volume in there. So we have a lot more control over how the truck lands and how it reacts and stuff like that. And like, I don't know, something off the top of my head, like housings, axle housings. We went from using stock F106 housings and then just adding bracing to it, to now we have custom built sheet metal housings from like Dan Patrick and Race Source and places like that build housings. And like now there's people like Overson. They're making billet kingpin caps. They're making like the axles that we use in the rear of our trucks are the fine spline axles, and they're a lot stronger than the coarse spline axles. We don't have to use ball and claw axles anymore, stuff like that. It's just development of parts has come a long way. As far as the basic idea of the trucks, everything is pretty much the same, but it's just changing what we already have and making it
Yeah.
better.
And as far as like the development and stuff like that of those parts, I don't know off the top of my head, but do you know if they have like teams or anything that research that, like how they can make it better and how they can make it withstand more and more punishment? Because nowadays on the tracks, especially like like you're running the toughest trucks. Like that's big jumps, hard landings on concrete underneath that dirt. So those trucks take a beating.
Uh, I mean, as far as I know, I don't think there's anybody that's specifically, you know, has decided that they're going to research this, but it's kind of just trial and error kind of
Yeah.
thing. You know, like I think most everything in the monster truck industry has been, figured out by trial and error. But yeah, it's just teams coming up with new ideas and trying them, and either it works or it doesn't. It's a lot of, we try to be one big happy family here. We're all in monster trucks together, so we all try to help each other out. And I think it's just, you know, there's a lot of big players in the industry like Patrick Enterprises and Race Source and guys like that that have done a lot of the development, but a lot of the development they've done has been from them trying new things, putting it on their own trucks, and going and running it at shows. So,
So another one of these two-part questions. I know you say you're a big happy family, but I know every big family's got one person that they're most competitive with. Now, either in the Monster Truck series or the Jam series that you're going to run soon or that you have ran in the past, or with the toughest, do you have that one guy that you race against that brings out your absolute most competitive beast?
yeah, yeah, I do. It's like I said, we all try to be a big happy family, but when we get on the track, it's all, at least for me and for everybody that I know of, it's all bets are off. As soon as I put that helmet on, I have no friends. It's me in that truck, and that's all that matters to me. But when I'm outside of the truck, like I'd say my biggest competitor that I've had in my career is Brandon Budd. He was the one who was driving Bigfoot this year on the toughest tour, and I was for a while there on the toughest tour. I could not beat him in racing. I mean, he had my number, and it was frustrating the absolute heck out of me. I mean, it would make me so freaking mad. It ain't even funny. But we're all in this together, and we all want to put on a good show at the end of the day. And like for instance, saying that we're all a big happy family. It was the championship weekend in Grand Forks, North Dakota, and it was me and Brandon, fighting for the points championship, and I only had like a 11-point lead or something like that, going into racing in that show. And during racing, he went out, made his first pass, and broke a blower belt, and went back, fixed that himself. And then I finished my racing pass, and he went and did his next racing pass and blew a coolant line off the truck. And instead of me just sitting back and making it to where he's on his own trying to fix it, and me winning the race because he can't get back out there, I went over there and helped him out because I don't ever like to be that guy that wins by default. I don't like I don't I don't I don't count victories as true victories when I'm out there by myself.
Yeah.
If I go out there and have a buy run or somebody breaks or something like that, I don't count that as a real win. And I want to beat people. I'm the kind of competitive guy where I want to beat somebody straight up. I don't want them to make a mistake. I don't want them to not be able to make it to the line. I want a straight up race, and I want to beat them straight up. I want them to be at their best, and I want to be at my best, and I want my best to be better than theirs, basically.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool story helping them out like that. I remember you when you used to watch on TV and like the Monster Jam televised events. There'd be all kinds of stuff like you're in the kind of going along with what you say, like a big happy family. Like somebody breaks, but you've got all the teams coming over there to help them fix that one truck just so they can get back up and get out for freestyle or whatever, just because they know how much it means to the fans for them to be out there.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. As much as we all want to win fair and square. We don't want to take a win because somebody couldn't make it out there. But on the other side of that token, going away from just being competitive, you know, I take it I take it very very personally and very, close to my heart that people come out here. And I used to be that kid. I used to be that kid that was sitting in the stands that wanted to see Max D go out there, or Gravedigger, or Monster Mutt, or El Toro Loco, or whoever it might have been. Whoever was my favorite at the time. I remember what it felt like to be that kid and how disappointing it was when Max D couldn't make it out because he broke something and couldn't get it fixed, and they had to skip him or something like that. And you know not only the kids but the parents, or anybody that comes to the shows, they pay their hard-earned money to come watch me. At a when you pull it down, they pay their hard-earned money to come out there and watch me drive a big giant truck around and put on a show.
Yeah.
They come to see a show, and they come to be entertained. I come to win, and I come to entertain. That's the way I look at it. I come to put on a show, and I come to win at the same time. So anytime that somebody's out there and they're broke, if my stuff isn't already in pieces, then I'm definitely going to be out there helping them fix theirs.
Yeah. It's a pretty good family environment. But along with that question, the what event do you have coming up that you're most excited for? Like, is it a toughest event, like the next toughest tour? Is it the Monster Jam event?
Um, to be honest with you, I don't know. I mean, I'm here in Miami this weekend, and this is a really big show, and I'm pretty excited for it, to tell you the truth. I mean, this is like the independent world finals kind of. This is one of the biggest independent shows that you can do. And I've always watched this show on YouTube on the Monster Blog, and I've always enjoyed watching everybody come out here and just wad their stuff up, man. I'm not one of those guys that wants to go out there and just purposely wad something up, but I definitely want to go out there and win. Um, so I'm pretty excited for this show. I've also got a show coming up in Salinas, California. We've got all six of our trucks going there, and I'm pretty excited for that. Being with the entire team and getting to race some of my teammates. I'm pretty excited for that. And then let's see, I've got some shows coming up in Canada for Monster Jam. My first stadium show, I believe, is Edmonton, Alberta, or I don't remember what it is. It's Edmonton in Canada. It's in there. It's in one of the CFL stadiums, I believe. I'm pretty excited for that. I've got a lot of firsts coming up because I haven't been driving that long. I've been in the sport since I was nine. I've been full time in the sport since I was 19, but I've only been driving for about a year and 3, 4 months, something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, I'm pretty excited. I mean, every show that I go to is exciting because my job is to drive a monster truck, so pretty excited just to do that. But some shows mean different things. I had my hometown show already this year. It was right after Grand Forks, right after I won the championship. It was pretty exciting, getting to be in my hometown and you know do what I've always loved in front of the people that mean the most to me. That was pretty cool. But yeah, I'd say this weekend's a pretty big one for me. Salinas is a big one for me, and then probably that stadium show for Monster Jam is pretty big for me.
So those two that you mentioned first, the one you're doing right now, I know that I don't know if he's there. I can only imagine he'll be there. Devin Jones and Barbarian, because I know that's his hometown. That
Yeah,
dude's a nut.
yeah, yeah. When it comes to this show, I mean, he ain't pulling no punches. He's out here to win, and that's it. He does not care what it takes. But he was actually just here a couple minutes ago while we were tiring up trucks. He was standing there talking to us. So yeah, he will be here this
Yeah,
weekend.
I've met him a few times. He's a pretty cool guy. That Salina show that you were talking about, will that be like the official like track debut of the Velociraptor truck?
No, actually, Too Tall was with Mike this past weekend, and they were in oh I cannot remember where they were at, but they just did a stadium show together, and that was the on track debut for that truck was last weekend.
Yeah, that truck's pretty sick. That's one of my favorite things about that team, the Team Throttle Monsters. All their trucks just look so sick. Like Vendetta looks freaking sick. The all the Jurassic attacks look sick. I noticed that I think it's just Paul's truck. I'm not sure that has the black horns instead of the white horns like everybody else. But
Yeah, yeah, it's just Paul's truck, but I think I'm gonna start doing that with
yeah,
mine because I like it a
yeah,
lot. I'm gonna start painting mine black.
those black horns are pretty sick, especially when he hits like a jump and you see him fly off. Paul airs that truck out.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, it's actually pretty entertaining in the cab to watch a horn fly off. Not so much afterwards because you got to
Yeah.
fix it, but it's pretty funny. I mean, I had my first rollover in Rio Rancho this year for toughest, and after I rolled over, we have a rule at toughest where you can roll back over and continue. and it doesn't affect your score. So I had some time left, so they rolled me back over, and I had no intentions of continuing. Actually, to be completely honest with you, no intentions of continuing my run because as soon as I got upside down, I couldn't breathe, and I was like, they came up to the window and they were like, "You good?" And I was like, "Roll me over, I can't breathe." And I didn't want to keep going, but as soon as they hooked the chain up and they were starting to pull me over, Scott Heaton is our announcer. He was on the mic and he just yelled. He was like, "Do you want more?" And I heard the crowd go nuts. And I was like, "Yep, I'm going." So I cinched my belts back down and I kept going. And it was like 2 or 3 jumps in after I rolled over, hit the FMX hill, and the front horn on my truck, literally I watch it like break off and just bounce off the front of my truck and catapult forward like 40 feet, and then it bounces and rolls into the pits. And I actually like audibly giggled in the cab when it happened.
Yeah, it is pretty satisfying to watch. I remember one specifically this year. I don't know if you know the guys from Tomfoolery Motorsports, but Jester, he hit a jump. It was his opening jump of freestyle. He hit a jump and his entire body just flew off the truck, and everyone was talking about
I
it for
saw that.
weeks.
I saw that, and then immediately in my head, just because I'm one, I'm in, I'm one of the guys that's like part of a team, and I'm working on them and stuff. I'm like, did he take all the bolts out of that just so it would fly off? I was wondering because normally they do some pretty cool stuff with the World Finals with like a different color of their body, and they did. So I'm assuming that's why. But regardless, it was pretty cool.
Where did you get to attend the World Finals? Did you get to go with them?
N- No, I did not. I was in Idaho Falls, Idaho for the Monster Truck Insanity Tour that same weekend.
Gotcha, gotcha. Well, I've only got one real question for you left, and that's where can anybody that's listening here watch you if they want to watch you?
Um, so a lot of my shows coming up. I'm here in Miami, Oklahoma this weekend, and then I go to Minot, North Dakota, and then I'm in Salinas, California, and then I go to my first Monster Truck Throwdown show at the Soaring Eagle Casino. That's a very, very big show. Anybody that's in that area, you definitely want to go to that one because it's going to be wild. But as far as social media and stuff, my Instagram is Widner_MT, so WIDNER_MT. And then, so I've got Instagram, I got Facebook, I got all that stuff. Facebook's just my name. I post stuff on there as often as I possibly can. And, normally it's some pretty cool stuff. Sometimes it's me rolling over or whatever. But, you know, most of the time I try and keep it on the entertaining side.
Yeah, I'm sure Moto Vlogs will probably be at this show too for the Miami one because of how big it is.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure that will be here. Danny Mass was there in Springfield, Missouri last weekend taking pictures, and he got some pretty sweet ones.
Yeah, I saw some
So
of them. With that truck was looking sweet.
I try and keep it clean. This is Boss's truck, so I gotta be extra with it.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, we appreciate you coming out for the interview. And good luck with the show. Do a sick little nose wheelie for us. And we had fun on here. If you had fun, be sure to tell your teammates to come do an interview with us. We'd love to have some of them.
Sounds good, man. I appreciate you having
All
me.
righty, man. This was Dalton. Yeah, man. Like I said, absolute freak knowledge when it comes to his machine and his truck and all that. Absolutely crazy. I feel like that's a perfect way to end this first episode of Fuel Injected, hosted and powered by CRONYO Media. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's going to become a more often thing now. Like I said, check us out at CRONYO Media. We have the Cron and Yodi show, which is mine and Britton's show, where that's our main show. That's what we do. We have his show for hockey. We have my show, which is this. He might have another one coming up for the Yankees. And we have the No Place Like Omaha Boys, which are on the rise. Check them out. But you can find us at all socials at CRONYO Media. And you can find this one on Instagram, this podcast at Fuel Injected Podcast. Keep your eyes open for sneak peeks and clips and stuff like that from episodes to come. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Really appreciate you listening. Don't forget to check us out on all socials. This has been Fuel Injected, powered by CRONYO Media. I'm your host, Ethan Cronister. Have a good one.